Hi writers, this video lesson will walk you through writing process assignment number 1, which is your brainstorming and invention assignment for paper number 1. Just to quickly review essay number 1, before you watch this video, you should have already watched the previous video lesson over explication, which that will go into more detail on the concept of explication. But explication means to explain something in detail using illustrations and examples in order to make something more clear or more understandable for your audience. So that means the purpose of this essay is to help your audience understand something they might be unfamiliar with. This particular essay prompt is asking you to explicate an aspect of your identity to an audience who may not understand what it's like to experience life as that aspect of your identity. You have 2 prompts to choose from, both of which are personal identity explication prompts. The first one is what it means to be me, where you are choosing a specific element of your personal identity. So not everything about you, but you're going to focus on one particular element of your identity that impacts your experience and that tends to be less well understood or is more unique. Prompt B is identity in transition. So you're going to choose a time or a type of experience that caused you to feel a complex shift in your sense of identity. And you're going to explain the ways in which your identity shifted as a result. Again, with both of these, the main thing that goes into the body of the essay is going to be specific examples. For either of these, I want you to consider who your audience might be, who needs to know this, and what exactly you want them to understand. And then you think, what details can you provide to help them understand your experience? On the previous video lesson, I asked you to consider many different aspects of your identity. You should have a very long list, over 10, because everybody has, 20, 30 aspects of their identity. Aspects of identity can include social aspects like race, religion, culture, nationality, gender, class, etc. Different roles you occupy, such as a career or occupation, a role as a student, familial roles like a sister, a sibling, the oldest sibling, an only child, or different types of family structures and what it's like to be a part of that family, or different organizations that you have roles within, organizations such as clubs, activities, sports, or organizations such as spiritual religious organizations or organizations built around hobbies that you see as very essential to your identity. And finally, personal aspects, things like aspects of your personality, aptitudes and abilities, your appearance, anything about your appearance that tends to change the way people perceive you or the way you experience the world, and your values, personal values, political values, ethical values, spiritual values, etc. So I would like for you to have a very large list of all the different aspects of your identity that you can think of. Doing something like this wheel, drawing a circle, might help you begin to brainstorm some of these things. However, this wheel does not include all the different aspects. For example, it doesn't include anything about personality. It doesn't include a lot of things about appearance or about roles that you might occupy, familial roles and things like that. So this wheel is just a starting place. Continue to list. Then I'd like for you to consider questions such as these. Which parts of your identity that you've listed have caused you the most challenges or have the strongest impact on how you interact with others or how you perceive yourself or other people perceive you? Of what you've listed, which parts of your identity impact how others treat you the most, either positively, negatively, or some complex mixture? I want you to start to consider things like intersectionality or how different aspects of your identity combine to make your experience particularly unique. And I gave the example of I could write an essay about being a teacher, I could write an essay about being a mother, or I could write an essay about being a teacher who's also a mother, and that is even more specific and therefore more unique and interesting for your audience. The main question, though, once you have a very big list, is which parts of your identity do you wish people understood better, or do you feel tend to be the most understood? Remember too, as part of your brainstorming, most of this is just related to prompt A about this is what it means to be me, to be this particular identity. I'd also like for you to create a list of ways that your identity has shifted and what's caused that shift to occur to help you brainstorm for prompt B. So I'm going to open up WPA number 1, writing process assignment number 1, and show you now that you have a list or are beginning a list, how you can input that into the document so that I can give you some feedback through the writing process. So here is what WPA number 1 will look like. Part number 1, we can definitely begin to work on now. So here's where you will create that list of different elements of your identity. More than 10, up to 20 is a reasonable list. So several different examples. I'd also like for you, even though it's not specifically listed here, to think about 3 to 5 times, maybe 2, depending on how much life experience you have, where your identity really shifted. And again, I want you to think uniquely as possible. So for example, a lot of people in freshman comp, in comp 1, will be able to talk about how graduating from high school maybe shifted or changed their identity. If you want to say something like, it gave me a new sense of freedom and independence, that's probably a very common experience for a lot of people. So we want to avoid these topics that most people would already understand already, or most people tend to experience, because there's just less purpose behind going into something like that. However, if there was something unique about your experience or something that you noticed not everybody around you started or was going through or was experiencing, that might make a better topic. But for now, just a list. So list of many different aspects of your identity, 10 to 20 or more. And then a list of 2 to 5 key moments where you felt your identity shift, either because you took on a new role, your values changed for some particular reason, or whatever. Once you've done that, I also want you again to start to think about how different aspects of your identity work together to make your experience unique. So you may have teacher and mother. Teacher and mother is a different aspect that you might include here as well. Then you're going to narrow down to 2 possible topics for your paper. When you're considering which ones to narrow down, which ones to keep, which ones will make a better paper, remember to choose based on audience and purpose. So what do you have the most to say about? What do you think is most important for people to hear about? Who are the people who would benefit from hearing about it? What do you want them to understand about this aspect of your identity? So here is what that would look like. Just a nice phrase. Here's one potential topic, being a perfectionist teacher, and here's another one, being a first-generation college student from a family farm. So choose sort of different, but both of which you feel like would have a strong sense of audience and purpose. Once you've done that, you're going to scroll down to space number 3. Now, transitions, the readings that were assigned for this week include the reading on invention. And that reading included several invention and several brainstorming strategies. I would like for you to choose 2 of the strategies described in the reading from transitions and do those strategies over these 2 topics. So you're going to choose 2 different strategies. You can do both of those strategies over one, or you can do one over this one and one over that one. But do them over yours, right? Not over the topics I've listed here. If it's something that you can type straight into the doc, go ahead, but you'll see here, if you want to do something such as a cluster and you want to do that on your own paper, you can take a picture of that with your phone and then add it to the doc here. So I should see 2 different brainstorming or invention strategies from this week's transitions reading on the chapter on invention. Now, the goal there is that not necessarily coming up with topics, but coming up with what you might say about those topics. So once you then have decided, have gone through this process, this should help you understand which of the 2 potential topics you really have the most to say about or is yielding the most interesting and unique insights and experiences and examples. So from these 2 strategies, then you want to commit to one. So you'll list your topic here, and it will be phrased just like this: being a perfectionist teacher or being a first-generation college student. So you're going to have a phrase here. And then in this chart, I would like for you to start brainstorming concrete and abstract experiences related to that. And remember too, I'm mainly showing you brainstorming for prompt A, but you also have prompt B. So prompt B might be something like becoming a teacher and how that changed my identity, becoming a mother and how that changed my identity. So either prompt A or prompt B, whichever topic you think you want to focus on. Concrete examples here in this chart, and I want you to have at least 4, would be something like specific memories or specific moments. So here, if I'm choosing being a perfectionist teacher, I would have like the student last year who said blank. So this is a very specific example that I can tell as a little anecdote or mini story within a paragraph. I could also include feeling anxious and overwhelmed when I have a lot of work to do. This is a little more, now anxious and overwhelmed are sort of feelings. So actually I'm going to include those over here. I tend to feel anxious and overwhelmed. Those are feelings. Abstract means things that are sort of not physical experiences. So any thoughts, feelings, or beliefs. But I'm going to, for the concrete then, on the other side of that, when I have a lot of work to do. So if I have a concrete detail, I want to hop over here and think, okay, when that student said that thing, how did it make me feel, or what did that make me believe? So I'm going to say I tend to really invest in student success and care a lot about their lives. And so I'm going to sort of keep these echoing each other so that I have a concrete detail and an abstraction that sort of go together. And this is going to help me build my content and build my paragraphs. So again, 4 to 5 concrete details, 4 to 5 abstract ways you tend to feel, things you tend to think about, things that happen within your brain versus things that happen in the actual physical world. Okay? Once you have that, I want you to think about your audience and purpose. So who do you think would benefit from this? So I can ask myself, who tends to misunderstand what it's like to be a perfectionist teacher? Well, sometimes my family, sometimes students. So I would want to choose a key audience, students of mine. And then I want to consider a key purpose. What exactly do I want students to understand? And what do I want to change about the student's perspective? So I want students to understand that I put in a lot of hard work so they feel more invested in working hard in the class as well. Something like this. As always, please let me know if you have any questions via email. But here's a reminder of what to include on the concrete and abstract chart. This is one that students sometimes have some questions about. So in the table with 2 columns, on the concrete experiences side, that's memories, events, moments specifically related to your experience. And on the right, a list of abstract feelings, emotions, concerns, relationships, or preferences related to that identity. So this can help you fill in that 2-column chart if you need a little more prompting. Good luck!